With that, let's bring in Brian Logan on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Brian, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Going good, man. Just living the dream.
Absolutely. The post-spring depth chart's out. You were a guy that wasn't on a post-spring depth chart going into the 2009 season. Then in came this 5'9" baller who cracked the depth chart and was a starter. We've talked about a couple of guys like you, Handsome Tanielu, Jonah Trinman, who aren't on this. But what do you think of the post-spring depth chart?
Yeah. Oh, and just to correct you, Jaron, when I came in and I actually cracked the depth chart, I went back down to 5'6". So yeah, 5'9" initially. Then they got it right. But no, I think it's pretty good. I think it's solid. I think that this is exactly what fans should expect. And the main reason why is when you look at all of the projected starters, they're all juniors and seniors, most of them, right? Some of them are freshmen. You have a few sprinkled in here that are sophomores, but that lets us know that these guys have a lot of experience just within the level of playing Division I football. And then as far as actual snaps and game reps, so I don't see it changing too much. If it was a situation where these guys were maybe younger, there wasn't a lot of experience in game reps, then I would say this doesn't really mean nothing.
Since we mentioned that it's something that you did, cracking the two deep, arriving for fall camp, how difficult is that for a player to come in who wasn't in spring and is just arriving in time for fall camp? How difficult is it for that athlete to crack the two deep?
Well, if you are if you're coming from a junior college, it's easy. I mean, this is what we do. This is what we live for.
It's easy?
Yeah, it's easy. No, it's not easy. It's easier than a freshman coming off of the yellow bus. I mean, the game speed is a little bit faster at the junior college level, so it's easier to adjust. You kind of are, I would say, in your grown man body. You have your grown man muscles, and you've been competing with grown men for the last 2 years. So the adjustment isn't that hard. It's really just the X's and O's. So if you can get the mindset right, if you can get more of the strategy, then you'll be fine. For a freshman, I feel like it's harder, but if you are a freak of nature like a Kyle Van Noy, where I think he could have actually played and started more his freshman year in 2010 when I was a senior, if you have that athletic ability, fast, quick, you essentially have your grown man muscles. If you went through puberty a little bit earlier, I think you can adjust pretty easy. But it's hard, man. These guys have been working together. They've been in the system for a little bit longer. So it's just the reps and the experience.
Brian Logan is on BYU Sports Nation and says, depending on how fast you go through puberty will be how fast you crack the depth chart. Brian, what sticks out about this depth chart to you?
I would say what I said earlier as far as the amount of, I would say, juniors, seniors that are in the number one position. I think the other thing that sticks out to me is the defensive line, the linebackers, the front seven, and kind of just seeing where everybody's going to fit in coming from the 3-4 system. So, trying to figure out where certain people are going to play and trying to figure out, do their skill sets from a 3-4, match a 4-3. But other than that, man, it's exciting to see just some of the names that you're familiar with, you've been talking about for the last couple of years that are back. And so when you just look at the seniors, when you look at the leadership, I mean, this team essentially has, I think, a lot of the tools to have a pretty competitive season. But that schedule, that makes your stomach turn a little bit.
Now that we actually have the opportunity to see these names in position groups on paper and realizing it's not 100% yet, what position are you most comfortable with and least comfortable with?
Secondary, just because that's
secondary.
The best group. Yeah, that because it's secondary. No, I mean these guys are talented. I think when you look at the starters, They can play almost any position, probably even quarterback. Shout out to my guy Kai Nakua. I like Troy as well. Getting some reps. I've heard some pretty good things from some of the guys coming out of spring ball. I think quarterback is another position. Running back, there's guys all over the place that can play running back. I think the biggest probably concern is really just the front seven again. Trying to see what these guys are going to look like with game reps. I mean, they're going to have about a year to adjust to the system and whatnot. But I think that's what it is. But when you have a solid secondary, and guys that can play man corner, guys that can lock down an entire side of the field. Your defensive coordinator can do a lot with your safety. So if your guys need some extra run support, just load the box. Tell your corners, hey, you're on your own, you got this, and go have fun and stop the run.
You mentioned Troy Warner a second ago, and the fact that as a freshman, he's listed as a starter at that left. It's an or with Davis, but listed as a starter at that left corner. You combine that with what we're seeing with Francis Bernard being listed just months after being switched from offense to defense as a starting linebacker. Those two situations specifically, what do you think that says about the confidence level that the coaching staff has in those two players?
Well, I haven't had a chance to see Troy. I've seen his highlight film, and obviously getting recruited by some big teams. So it doesn't really surprise you the fact that he's starting, especially at a school at BYU. No offense, I went to BYU. Hope nobody takes offense to that. But it's just
I take defense to that.
Sense. Nice, I see what you did there. It makes sense. Now, I know sometimes coaches, when they get this big recruit, 5-star guy, even if he sucks, they're going to put him out there as a starter, which, I hate when coaches do that. Coach Mendenhall was the complete opposite. But from what I've seen on film, I don't think that's the case at all. And when you look at Francis Bernard, I mean, clearly the coaching staff came in and said, this dude is athletic, he's fast, he's big, he's strong. He's a waste of talent being on the offensive side. Let's put him where it really matters, and let's put him on the defensive side.
A waste of talent?
Sorry, I just decided on the offensive. I haven't been on air for a while, man. So I'm just trying to get it all.
We are live, just so you know. This is not recorded.
I'm sorry. It's my way of venting. But no, I mean, clearly when you look at Jamal, when you look at Squally and what they can do, their abilities, yeah, it makes more sense, especially with the depth that you have at the linebacking position. But again, you have a kid that is just athletic. He has all the talent in the world, and I'm not going to lie. I'm saying this, wholeheartedly. I'm not trying to joke here. The best and the most athletic kids tend to play defense because it's a much more, I would say, harder role to play because you are reactive. You're always in a reactive state, and so you have to have, I think, a little bit more talent. So I think that just speaks to the athleticism that he has. For him to come in, pick it up, and be a starter right away.
No, I feel you on that. You're not running to a spot or in an area, right? You got to cover some ground. I believe it. Brian Logan's on BYU Sports Nation. Yesterday, the Orlando Sentinel, the newspaper there, named the top 25 non-conference games. BYU had 3 of those: Utah, UCLA, and Michigan State. What are the 3 best games, in your opinion, on the schedule for BYU?
For BYU, I would have to say Michigan State. I'm intrigued with that. I think that Utah is important as well, and I think it's more in a sense for pride for the coaching staff to come in and say, hey, look, Bronco really hasn't had a lot of success with rivalry games. We want to come and change that. So, and actually, you know what? Let's scratch that. Let's say Utah number 1. For that very reason. I think when you have a new coaching staff, as fans, we're going to be lenient. We're going to understand that, hey, we expect them to take a couple on the chin, and we are going to give the coaching staff some time to kind of grow and develop their program as they see fit. But somewhere where I think that fans can really be onboarded and follow Kalani and the staff and really get more excited is if he can go in and give Utah a 1-2 punch and get that win that we all want. And I think this could potentially, with the schedule, be a reversal. But we've seen, more up north with Utah. You lose five or six games, you make it to a basic bowl game, but you beat BYU. Hey, championship, Super Bowl, yay, let's have fun. And I think that could be the same thing with us as fans. If we win decent, good amount of games, we're competitive. We have an opportunity to get into a bowl game. We get to a basic one, but we beat Utah. This is a successful season. So I think really, Utah would probably be my number one choice.
Brian, and it's not that BYU needs the schedule to be legitimized because we know how good it is. We know how big of a schedule that this is that BYU's playing, but I think it's a pretty cool thing that, and not that the Orlando Sentinel is the end-all be-all of media, but the fact that, entities outside of the state and the other part of the country are taking notice of what BYU is doing from a scheduling standpoint, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think this goes back to Coach Mendenhall and Tom Holmoe. Their goal when going independent was, to try to be as relevant as possible and bring exposure to this program. Obviously, there's a bigger mission. There's something that's special about BYU and what BYU stands for, and so you want to bring exposure to that first and foremost. And then you want to start getting some love that you probably should have been getting, back in the Mountain West days, more of that. And I think that they're on the path to do just that. When you look at the last few years, maybe the wins may not have been there for us as fans, but as far as the relevancy, I mean, man, I go anywhere outside of the state with BYU and people are starting to notice and not just Mormons. I mean, these are just regular, normal people. Not saying that Mormons aren't normal. Sorry,
where are you going with this, Brian?
Good catch, Brian.
Man, I'm just talking. So, but you get my point is that, I'm starting to get a lot more recognition, this logo from, I would say, more than just the LDS community outside of Utah.
Absolutely. That's important. Brian, we appreciate the time, man. We'll get you back on soon. It's been a while.